Well, hello and welcome, everybody. This is your host, Ken D. Foster, and I'm so glad you joined us today. This is an important video cast that we're doing today, and I hope you pay attention. We're going to be talking about how to get rid of chronic pain permanently. Now, some of you are going, oh, that's impossible for me. Well, it is impossible if you have resistance to learning something new. That's what creates the challenges for all of us, right? So if you have a resistance, oh, this couldn't possibly be true. Oh, this isn't right for me. Oh, this, my doctor told me, somebody told me that this whatever I have will never heal. Okay, if you got that mindset, I want you to set it aside today and really be open to some new ideas and new ways of thinking. If you're available to do that, if you could say, I can receive something new, and you really mean that, right? Don't let your little inner critic come up. You're going to find some information today that has helped even stars such as, what's the guy out of New York? I can't think of his name right now. Well, anyway, a lot of people have healed with this modality. So we are going to be discussing how to heal your chronic pain. How cool is that? All right. Howard Stern is his name. We'll be right back, and then we'll take a deep dive with my guest. Hi, Ken D. Foster here. Are you in a place that you would like to unleash the power within your mind? I teach a class. It's called The Limitless Experience. This is about intentional living. It's a great opportunity to learn how to operate your mind efficiently, expand your knowledge, tap into your inner wisdom, and connect with like-minded individuals who are evolving and making a difference in this world. This class is designed to help you unlock your true potential and achieve success in all areas of your life. By attending this class, you will gain valuable insights into your life purpose, legacy, how to get unstuck, how to break chronic patterns that are stopping your success, overcome limiting beliefs, and develop a positive mindset that will help you achieve your goals. I hope to see you soon at the Limitless Experience. Well, welcome back, everybody. The show today is called The Courage to Get Rid of Chronic Pain, and we're talking with Steve Ozanich. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Let me give you kind of a formal introduction for people that might not know you. Steve Ozanich is a mind-body health consultant. He's a teacher of presence, a spiritual researcher, and author of 5 books. His first book, The Great Pain Deception, placed as runner-up in the 2012 International Book Awards, and has since become an international bestseller. Stephen's second book, Dr. John Sarno's Top 10 Healing Discoveries, was written as an homage to the late Dr. John E. Sarno, who forever transformed medical history with the discovery of TMS, which is the mind-body syndrome. In his third book, Back Pain Permanently Healing, Understanding the Myth, Lies, and Confusion, was the Amazon #1 bestseller. And I'm so excited to interview you on this topic, Stephen. So many people in this country are experiencing, whether it's back pain or neck pain or knee pain or ankle pain, chronic pain in their bodies. Why is that, would you say?
Yeah, it's completely unnecessary, but there's a reason for it, of course. And in fact, the World Health Organization has stated as of a couple of years ago that back pain's become the #1 disability in the world. And it's not necessary at all because of what Dr. Sarno had discovered there.
Well, let's talk about Dr. Sarno's really, really quick here. Tell me a little bit about him and what did he discover?
Sure. I started having severe back pain when I was 14, and it lasted just under 30 years. And of course, I had tried every medical, gamut that they that I could possibly run. And it helps for a little while, and then it comes back. But in the late 90s, I was so bad I couldn't walk anymore, and I was crawling around on my hands and knees, and my left leg was paralyzed. And we took an MRI, and it showed a pinched nerve there, supposedly, ostensibly. And I was weeks away from surgery, a surgical consult, I should say. And I found his work, Dr. Sarno, and I didn't believe it. I thought he was crazy because I saw the pinched nerve and I could see the paralysis in the leg. And he's saying it's not coming from that. It's an emotional process, something he called TMS, for tension myoneural syndrome at first. And so I rejected it, and I got worse. I lost 50 pounds. I was really dying at that point. And I went back because, desperation breeds open minds often. You have to get worse. Like he used to say, the tragedy is that people have to get very bad before they're open their mind up to this. And I was one of those people. I threw his book. I was mad at him. But I got so desperate that I went back and I began to see the brilliance in it, and I healed. And I ended up writing 2 more books on that same topic. And it works virtually every single time. I've seen tens of thousands of people heal from back pain, knee pain, shoulder pain. It's all the same thing. It's just in a different part of the body. And yet so few people believe it. It became a controversial thing, which was really tragic at some point. But I threw the book, so I didn't believe it. I understand why people don't believe it, and I'm here to help them understand why they should believe it.
Well, we're taught in America to be skeptics and look at things with a skeptical mind. I think we taught that's kind of ingrained in us, even in our socialization and through our schools. And so it doesn't surprise me that people are resistant. But I'm hoping that our audience today will open their minds, because this is a modality that works. It works. It's worked for eons of time, and it's worked for generations of people that are open and receptive to it. So let's talk a little bit about what is the principle behind this healing, this healing force.
Sure. Dr. Sarno, of course, he was a true healer. He passed away in 2017, but he worked for 5 decades at NYU. He had seen quite a bit. He was frustrated with his results. Surgery wasn't really working, and therapy wasn't working. Injections weren't really working. And so he did what a healer should do. He looked into their records. He began to notice they had a lot of other health problems, not just back problems. They had allergies and all kinds of strange eating things, sleep problems, anxiety. And so he started to talk to them. He started to note a personality type, which is one of the great things he uncovered. It's more of a personality thing than it is a physical body thing. And he started to notice goodism and leading towards perfectionistic tendencies and the desire to make people happy and pushing themselves very hard. These people are often high achievers at very high levels. They push themselves to be the best of the best, like Tiger Woods, who had suffered from the same thing. And so once he started to explain to them, maybe that MRI doesn't mean anything, that herniation is there, and that's stenosis or the spondylolisthesis or the spondylolysis or whatever they want to call it today. Maybe it's there's some oxygen that's not getting to those nerves from the tension that's in your body, from all that you demand of yourself to be perfect. And he was astounded. Once he started to explain that, they started to heal. Just the knowledge of it. They didn't have to do anything, just understanding that their brain was kind of distracting them. It was forcing them to think about their physical body and away from what was really bothering them, which of course are life's problems, divorces and deaths of loved ones and jobs and bosses and all those things. And it works. It works virtually every time. The understanding of what's going on, just the understanding. You don't have to really do anything. You have to gather knowledge.
Well, what I'm hearing is that we're storing our emotions in our body in some form. Is that accurate? Actually, I'll let you answer that, but I got to take a quick break. So let me take a break, and we come back. Let's talk about that.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. The station that makes you feel good.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Kenny Foster. We're talking with my guest today, Steve Ozanich, and he has several books out on healing chronic pain, healing pain in your body, pretty much any type. It doesn't have to be chronic. Okay, let's answer that question, Steve. That are we storing in our bodies our emotions?
Yes. I don't know if you've heard of Candace Pert, but she kind of changed things in the 90s with her book, Molecules of Emotions, where she said they had proved somehow, I don't know how she did it, that the body was the unconscious mind. So if you think about a past memory, you're actually drawing on the cells of your body to bring that back, if you have any feelings about that or emotions or thoughts. And so the mind emotion is anger, but it could be anything. It could be resentment or fear is a big one, of course. Sadness is another one that we underestimate a lot. And so any one of these emotions I began to see as energy, because that's what an emotion is. We run on emotions. The body's just a frame, really, at some point. We're driven by certain things that drive us, right? And so I started to see my back pain as, I was storing energy there, anger there, and it began to dissipate, just like you said. And I started to hit golf balls, even though I had a paralyzed leg, which I thought was kind of crazy on my own part. But it got worse at first, and then it started to dissipate, and it disappeared forever. It's been 22 years, pain-free, symptom-free, because of the life work that he did. I'm forever grateful to him. But yes, it's an emotional process for the most part. So you have to kind of ignore. You have to kind of ignore.
Yeah, let me ask you. On the, you wrote the book, the 10. I don't have it off the top of my head here. Let me, where is it? The 10, well, you know it, but the 10 healing discoveries. Yeah, 10, yeah. So Dr. John Sarnos, what were some of those healing discoveries that you write about?
Well, a few of them are that, that he discovered, and by the way, it's been clinically proven. These aren't theories. And he trained, a few dozen doctors, and they've seen the same thing that I'm saying as well. That, that almost all of our health problems are an emotional process that's wholly unconscious, that you're never going to feel those emotions. That's why you have the symptom. The symptom is the emotion. You need to look at it that way, because the fact you're not feeling the emotion means that you have the symptom. Okay? So you can think of the back pain as anger. And that was one of the things. Another thing was what he called the symptom imperative phenomenon, which I think should have won a Nobel Prize in medicine. That people will have a surgery, like on a back disc, for example, and they'll say, no, that TMS is wrong. My surgery worked. But pretty soon the next disc hurts, and the knee hurts, or the shoulder hurts. Nothing was healed by the surgery. It just shifted forms. And that's what he means by the symptom imperative. It's shifting forms. As long as you need a distraction in your life from all the demand you're making on yourself, you're not going to be able to stop it. It's like whack-a-mole, where you hit one mole and the other one pops back up again. It drives people crazy, and they're constantly at the doctor thinking, well, that surgery worked, but now I have another problem. But it isn't true that surgery did not work. It just shifted forms, because the whole idea of the brain is to keep you distracted. And as long as you're worrying about your body and trying to fix it somehow, you're TMSing, is the phrase. You're paying attention to the body. You're not going to heal, because it's not a physiological problem, no matter what the testing shows. I see testing from thyroids and skin problems and this. Well, look at this level. This level's up. Well, yeah, it's because you're stressed out. You're tensed out. You're asking a lot from yourself. You're not allowing yourself to heal. And so allowing yourself to heal is one of the best things to do. But, we have to be responsible here today. We can't say, just ignore everything. I've seen aneurysms in people's spines, and we want to make sure that there's something that's not dangerous there. So please get checked out. But then once you get an MRI or an X-ray, it shows arthritis and normal changes like that. You can pretty much ignore it at that point and just start to live again. But there's a problem there. Sometimes the knowledge helps people immediately. I've Zoomed with people with 40 years of back pain and it disappears. 10 years of back pain, it disappears. I've gotten emails, 50 years of back pain, it disappear with my books. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Those are the lucky ones. some people need a little bit more work, whether it's, to keep persevering or keep trying to convince your unconscious mind to stop doing that to you. And then there's a small group of people that need some therapy because they were extremely abused children, abandoned children. And so there are different levels to this, of course. The worse the symptom is, the hotter the emotions are under there, but you're never going to feel them.
Well, I've taken in my own life, and what I've learned is that all healing is a quest. I think that's what you're saying. It's a quest. So it's we're looking at the mind, we're looking at the body, we're looking at the emotions, we're looking at the spiritual side, we're looking at the areas of our life that, and I've been a life coach for 26 years. So we're looking at those areas where you're out of balance. You just are. And, and it's so funny. I love what you're saying because, stress we know will show up in the physical body. A lot of people can get that, right? I had a client this week who finally got it. She got shingles and she went, I got it. I said, what do you mean you got it? He said, well, I needed to slow down. I didn't listen. My inner voice was screaming at me. I didn't slow down. I kept pushing, stressing. And now I have this. He said, but as soon as I got it, she said, this week I went to the doctor. They cut my medication in half. They're looking much better. As soon as it was just the knowledge of it, of what to do. It's amazing.
Exactly. It is. When you said that, it reminded me of my mother on her 70th birthday. On her birthday, we had to rush her to the hospital with back pain and shingles. It's the unconscious anger of aging. It's one of the biggest triggers in our lives is, the hands of time ticking. Our mortality is one of the most enraging things of all. But there's an infinite number of triggers. There's some people drive through the same intersection to have back spasms or smell a certain smell from childhood and they go into pain. So anything can trigger us, but aging had triggered her.
Yeah. Well, I just had my 71st birthday and, it was I went out and did a triathlon for my 71st birthday. This just happened this week. And, but I'll tell you, when I hit 70, all the collective consciousness of the way 70 is supposed to be, and it just hit me. And I started slowing down. I started gaining weight. I was like, what is going on to and I bought into it.
That's it. That's right. It's somewhere in the Bible, it says the devil is a liar. It says in the Bible, and it's your mind at some point, I quoted Satchel Paige, the old pitcher, he said, how old would you be if you didn't know how old you were? What if you woke up tomorrow and you thought you were 25? And by the way, this has been proven. I forget her name. It's Langley or Langford. She's an aging study researcher from Harvard. They test the telomeres, at the end of the DNA. They put them in a 50s environment and they got 3 years younger in just a few weeks because that's what they were reflecting back.
Well, I did a physical. I did all this blood work and it came back and I had my doctor look at it and I said, well, tell me what all the markers are saying to you. What's going on? She says, Ken, you have the markers of a 30-year-old right now. And I went, okay, I'll take it. And not only did I take it, I embraced it. I went, okay. And, it's like I had more energy that day or the next day, right?
That's right. Imagine when you see a herniated disc on an MRI, all of a sudden the tension goes through their spine like you can't believe, and they get worse. And then of course there's been stories of people have died from cancer and then they did autopsies and there wasn't any cancer cells in there. They thought they had it, And so we have to change our mindset first, or change our perceptions, a better way of saying it, about life. Aging, we don't like the getting old because we see what happens, but if you don't get old, you die young. So what do you want? Do you want to get old? Yes, you do. You do want to get older. I just don't want to suffer at all.
Well, there's getting old and then there's getting old pain-free. And I think that's really what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's exactly. Quality of life. And, for me, I think anybody that's in really good health, we work at it, right? It's not something that just happened. It's like, I didn't just go to the gym one time and work out, right? I work at it and I work at it. First of all, like you just said, it's through that conscious place that, it's mind over emotion, emotion over action, action over results over our destiny, right? So it's that level of mind we start to work at and notice, very consciously what's working, what's not working. Can I eat this food? Can I not? How's my body show up to that? How much exercise do I need? It's those pieces.
Sure. And of course, I think it was a Buddha that said, everything you're doing is to avoid suffering. You go to the doctor to avoid suffering, the dentist to avoid suffering. You work to make money so you don't have food hunger, suffering with that. Exercise to avoid future suffering, and in a way we overdo it. We're so obsessed on it. I've always said, if we could just put all of our energy and focus on how to live instead of how not to die, we would be so transformed, And so I'm more peaceful than ever at this time. I've helped people reverse deafness. I helped a lady get her hearing back. I've helped people get over cancer and MS symptoms and lots of pain people. And anybody who is willing to, because nothing happens without willpower, nothing. You can't raise your arm without willpower. And so you have to be willing to heal. And I'm saying right here, about 80% of the people statistically aren't. About 15 to 20% will accept what we're saying here today. Statistically, Dr. Sarno looked at it, and through my own work, he's right. About 80% will say, no, my doctor said. And as soon as they say that, they've negated their healing immediately.
Well, the first thing I learned in healing was that we had to take back my own power, right? I couldn't be giving my power away to the doctor or to the friend or to the school. I needed to take it back. And what that really means is that I had to know and had to understand what intuition was about. I had to know that little still silent voice that's in me and every single other person on the planet. And I had to start learning how to tune into that and learn about it, And once I did, then things changed for me.
That's beautiful. Intuition, Yogananda used to say, intuition's a lost art. We're too overrun with information and technology, and we've lost the art of intuition. An animal, when it's sick and wounded, it goes and it rests until it's healed. It instinctively knows how to do that. But human beings, they go off of vacation and they come back more exhausted than they were before they left, But what you said reminded me of something that Neville Goddard had said. I just saw it. I'm looking at it now. He said, if you desire health, you must assume it. Even though the doctors, tests produce proof to the contrary, you must be ever aware that they are not your God. When you point to another as your authority in your world, you're transferring the power that belongs to God to an idol. And so we are that power. We are that power.
Well, isn't that the truth? I know when I was waking up, I came across a guy by the name of Cubby, and he said, we pray from God to God. Boy, that stuck in my head. I went, what does that mean? I had to learn what that meant, right? I had to learn that the power is within us. It's there if we're willing to look at it. And, I want to say that you mentioned that, about 20% of the population is open to something new. I believe this show, this format, I believe this audience here is not only open and receptive to new ideas and new ways of thinking, they're out there making a difference and passing it on to others, because that's what we need if we're going to change consciousness. I want to share this one last thing, and I'm going to take a break. And when I come back, I'm going to take a little deeper dive into maybe some practical things people can do to start their healing journey today. So I think we'll just do that. I'll take a break. We'll come back, and then we'll discuss that.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Well, welcome back, everybody. We're talking about the courage to heal, and I've got Steve Ozanich on my show today, and so excited to have you, Stephen. Steve, for those of you that don't know Stephen is a He's a health consultant. He's a spiritual researcher. He's a man that is healed. He knows this from the inside out. He's not only helped others heal, he's healed himself. So, speaking of that, I want to comment on that. Yeah, at one point we get to realize what we study, right? So I studied healing and healing modalities, and then I had a ski accident up in Mammoth Mountain on December 31st, and it was 2018 maybe. And I tore up my ACL on my right knee, and I tore up my ACL, my MCL, medial meniscus, and I had a bone fracture. And my knee was swollen like crazy. And I came down the mountain, and my wife said, we know a lady in San Diego, Sharon Edmondson. She does something called Owen work. She said, you should go see Sharon. So I went to Sharon, and Sharon gave me a treatment that walked out of her office. About 80% of the pain was gone, just like that. And she gave me a formula to reduce the swelling. Within 3 days, my leg, swollen like crazy, was back down to normal. Now, is that possible? Well, of course it's possible because I realized it, okay? And I'm saying this is because we not only can heal, we can heal quickly with the right. I was always told, Yogananda said this. I think it was he said that it's the power of the healer and the receptivity of that person being healed, right? So it's a combination. So I'm saying that to you because here I've got Steve Ozanich, who's a healer on my show today. And it's like, if you're there thinking, wow, I need to heal, I'm gonna share with you. I think, he's got some books out there. That would be a great place to start your healing journey. So, Stephen, let's get some practical ways that people can start this journey.
Sure. Of course, in your case, it was an accident, right? And injuries need time to heal, of course. We're seeing our healthcare is radically different these days because we're in an evolution in human consciousness right now. Let's just admit it. Healing has a purpose to help it. The swelling has a purpose to help it. But if it's not healing, okay, then there's something blocking healing, of course, because the body's natural state is wellness. That's what it wants to be. The flow of the universe, the flow of energy in life, that is it. The harmony of God or consciousness, whatever you want to call it, right? That's it. It wants to be well. If it's not there, then there's a reason that it's not healing. And of course, get tested, go to the doctor, make sure there's nothing dangerous there, be responsible. Your life is too precious. But beyond that, we have to start looking at an emotional process and reasons behind it not healing. And I'm telling you, Dr. Sarno found that reason because I'm seeing people heal from everything. But they have to be accepting to it, like the Master Yogananda said. He said, that never even think about these health problems. Don't even allow your mind to entertain them. He said, if you can change, everything's changeable and curable, Yogananda said, and the consciousness of anything being chronic is a delusion. At some point, you keep looping it through these neural pathways in your mind. The problem. I've seen people had skiing accidents 20 years ago, and they were limping for 20 years. And they read my book, and they realized it had healed 20 years ago. Okay? But the thought that it's forever damaged because their doctor told them that kept them forever damaged.
That, by the way, that was me. And my other leg, my left leg, I tore a medial meniscus and had a little operation to pull out a couple pieces. And I limped and hurt for 10 years until just that. I came across a guy and said, what are you doing? Why are you limping? That's a long time ago, And I said, well, yeah, but I still got pain. He says, listen, why don't you do this? Why don't you go out and try to run, just run 100 yards. See if you can do that for like 20 days in a row. See what happens to it. That's okay. And it was gone. It went away. All that mental garbage about that I put around it, the rationalizations and it just healed. I was like, this is incredible.
You did what Dr. Sarno called the most important thing, because everybody's looking for, steps. Tell me what to do, right? So I had a partially paralyzed leg. I was dragging my foot and I tried to run, he kept saying, the most important thing to do is to get more physical, because you've got to prove just to get more physical.
Bit more physical.
Yeah.
Okay.
The more rigorous, the better, he said, because you're trying to prove to your brain to stop doing that to me. It's healed a long time ago. And so I had back pain so bad, I was almost dead. I really believe I was dying. I stopped eating for a week. And I tried to run around the block. It must have been a sight to behold. It must have been a 30-minute mile. But at the end of that mile, I started to feel a little relief. And I kept doing it for month after month after month until it was gone.
Well, I could sure relate to the 30-minute miles. And that's hysterical. But with that physical stuff, what I did is, I first of all, I ran as far as I could, and then I'd stop, and then I'd walk, and I'd go a little further. And each day I'd push myself just a little more. And, my goal was to be able to get 1 mile. That was my goal of running. And eventually I got that, and then I got, I pushed myself a little more. And then at one point I signed up for a 5K marathon and didn't know if I'd ever be able to do it. But, I got through that. And then I signed up for a half marathon, and I got through that. And then I did a full marathon. I just kept pushing myself a little bit more. I'm not suggesting that this is anybody's path. This is my path to healing, and, so for me, it was, like I said, it was just a quest. And also to realize that actually the soul, mind-body connection. For me, like I said, everything comes from meditation through intuition, daily practice. And then, and then again, like you just said, then it's taking action. It's going out there and doing something physical.
Sure. I as you were saying that, I was thinking back on my own trials. My goal was I even got a stopwatch out. My goal was to stand up for 10 seconds because I couldn't walk, for months. I couldn't sit for 2.5 years without severe pain. And so I did it. And I remember falling down on the bed. I said, I'm going to go to 30 seconds and I'm going to go to a minute. And I did it, but I was in more severe shape than most people that hired me, actually. But, it is mind, body, soul. My company's TMS Consulting, the mind, body, spirit, because without that knowledge, those are the people that heal the deepest and the fastest are the ones who are spiritual people every single time. Other people may have some advances, but then they fall back into something else.
Well, I personally learned early on that when we're doing something that seems bigger than ourselves, especially we're talking about healing, it's important to bring the spirit into that. And, through practices of increasing dynamic will or divine will, as opposed to human will, trying to push things ourselves. So there's a piece there that
we're not paying attention. Though the answers are being sent to us every day, and we're not looking for them. I was shown Dr. Sarno's book by a friend of mine, and I threw it. That was the universe sending it to me through him, and then I just rejected it. I rejected everything that I'm trying to explain to people today, and so I understand why 80% of them don't want to believe it.
Well, Jim Carrey made a good movie about it. It was called Yes Man. And if you are one of those resistance people like I was and like Stephen was, you may want to watch that movie and just practice yes for the next 7 days, right? Just yes. Say yes.
What does it hurt to read the book? It doesn't really hurt to read the book, but you have to be accepting to it. People would come in with Dr. Sarno and show them their MRIs, and he didn't even really look at them. He'd throw them down because he didn't really pay much attention to them. They would say, aren't you going to read those? He'd say, do you want me to look at them? And they said, yeah. So he would read them for their benefit, he said. But he said, would you be open to the fact that this arthritis and this stenosis and these little tears in the meniscus and that aren't causing the problem? No. Not really. And so they would go struggle. But so you have to be open and accepting. And that's, David Hawkins talks about that, courage is the first line where everything changes. And then willingness is the next line. And it works every single time. I'm
going to put your book up there, but you just said the magic words, courage. So I'm just going to throw my book on the screen right now. So that's my latest book.
It's Courage. I didn't know that. You got it. You already figured this out. Beautiful.
Yeah. So, but I want to put your book up there. So this is your latest book. It's called Back pain, permanent healing. Permanent was the word that got me. I was like, oh yeah, Stephen knows what he's talking about here. Let's just talk about your story. I mean, you must have had to go through some real healing to get this semi-paralyzed leg to work 100%. That healing was not just physical, I take it. That was emotional.
Yeah. It's, the soul knows the journey that it's on. And we get locked up in our ego and our mind and who we think we are and all these things. And of course, the number one thing Dr. Sarno saw in his patients is they were still trying to please their parents. They were driving themselves so hard trying to get that acceptance and praise. And so the parents had a big role at one point, and that relationship is paramount. If they don't get acceptance and praise, they go out and they push themselves to extreme ends. I quoted that comedian Ray Romano in my first book. He said, if my father would have hugged me one time, I would have been an accountant. He said, because he said he never knew if he liked. I didn't know if he really, accepted me or anything. So I was trying to get more praise and more money and more fame, But if he would have said I was okay as a son, I just would have had a regular job at that point, And that's why they're funny comedians, because they're so observant about our lives and they show us the absurdity that it makes us laugh. But yeah, I had a long healing journey. I'm trying to prevent people with my books from having to go through that long journey like I did to kind of shorten it for them. But I believe that it was psychologically safer for me to heal quicker because all the traumas that I had in my life leading up to that leg paralysis. And so that was just my journey. Some people heal while I'm talking to them. The first time it happened, I thought they were teasing me. I said, come on, get up and bend down. They got up on the Zoom camera and they were running around. They were crying, it was gone. And so it can happen that way. It's not normal, but the normal route is to read the books. And of course, you have to be open, and everything starts with courage. This is right from David Hawkins. This is where I learned this. He was one of the greatest healers I had ever seen. He wrote the greatest healing book I think I've ever seen called Healing and Recovery. It just blows my mind away. But you have to have that courage line, and then the universe begins to shift, and the flow of energy begins to support you.
Well, and I believe the first step of courage is letting go of your resistance and allowing yourself to explore something you've never explored before. Go do something you've never done before. Maybe buy a back paint today and just say, you know what, I've bought a lot of books in the past and I haven't read them. Well, okay, this is your time to go. Enough of that nonsense. Buy the book and then read the book. It's just a read. It's every day. You say, I'm going to read 10 to 15 minutes a day. And you make that part of your healing habit, right? We all have to, find some habits that work for us. You either got poor habits or you got more habits that are enlivening you and taking your body and your mind and your soul to higher levels and higher heights, right? So it really is, but it just starts with that first step of courage.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's why Lao Tzu started the Tao Te Ching. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. And I knew that quote at the time. But resistance is everything. I don't know if you know Eckhart Tolle's story, but the night before he had that awakening in 1977, he had heard really loudly in his heart, from his heart chakra, resist nothing. Start to let go, stop pushing back, because that anger is a resistance. Anger is a rigidity. It's a refusal to let go. It's got to be my way. Ego, which is the mind. Ego's the mind. And so there's a lot of work some people have to do. There's not a lot of work other people have to do. And so I hope somebody is just open to it and is, of course, responsible with their life. And, I would love to hear from some people, because it's just fun work. It really is. It's a blast doing this work. And it's very difficult. I remember the Buddha said, I can explain my work in detail, but finding people that are willing to listen is the harder part. And so I appreciate this opportunity from you right here today, because not a lot of people want to hear it.
And it's interesting that we get so programmed in our little ways, in our little thinking. I think the cause of that is what I think we addressed earlier, is because people don't want to experience any more suffering. They've had, they've had challenges. They've had pain in their life. Maybe they're in chronic pain right now. They're like, well, what if I do this and it doesn't work? Well, I think you have to ask a what if question on the other side of that. What if it did work, right? What if you actually got out of chronic pain permanently? Are you willing to find the courage to do that? I think those are questions we need to start asking.
I think Dr. Sarno answered that question for me in his great book, Healing Back Pain, it was called. It transformed the consciousness of our planet when it came out. It's still number one, I think, as far as back pain out there. But he said in his decades of work at NYU, he said, I can't recall one patient ever who got worse. That helped me to have the courage to start to take a step forward as well, But I had to believe him. And it was hard for me to believe him because I had paralysis and I saw the MRIs. It was very difficult to believe him, but he was so genuine and so beautiful and so honest that his personality, I bought into him, And so you have to buy into the person at some point, whether they're telling me the truth or not. But I told him on the phone, I said, listen, if you hadn't given all the examples of people healing, I would have never healed. I needed to hear people were healing at some point, And so it took me a long time. I don't think the people I work with don't take as long as I took, but I had nobody to go to at that point. And so, and of course, you brought up something about habits and stuff. Yogananda said, you think you're a body, but you're just a pattern of memories and emotions as it keeps rolling. It keeps rolling and rolling and finding new form at some point, And so we have to break those habits, and the people have the opportunity right now. St. Paul said it in Romans 12:2, do not conform to the patterns of this world. If somebody tells you can't heal, do not buy into that. Do not buy into that, because if you believe it, it will be.
It will be. It will be. By the way, for those of you in our listening audience, if you'd like to find out more about Steve and Ray Ozanich, please go to, where is that, Stephen? What's the website?
SteveOzanich.com.
Okay, let's spell it for our listening audience.
Sure. SteveOzanich.com.
Okay. Steve, SteveOzanich.com. You can find his books and connect with Stephen at that site to really start your healing journey. Why not? Why not today? What else you doing? If you find the courage, what if you were you're courageous? What actions would you take today to start your healing journey, right? Just ask yourself that question. I'm not asking. I'm giving that to you to ask yourself, what if I was courageous today? What actions would I take to start my healing journey?
I didn't.
That's the question.
I didn't know you had a book out with courage. I was happy to see you hold that up. That's beautiful. I quoted, I was asking the same question in my first book, and I quoted General Patton, George Patton. He said, courage is fear holding on 1 minute longer. Mm-hmm. So it's really not giving up at some point.
Yeah. It's not giving up. And, I wrote that book on courage because I found this. We don't need courage now and then. We need courage every single day. And that book has 365 days of courage where you are reprogramming your thinking. You are taking specific actions to put the courage in your life so that your life becomes a beautiful reflection of who you are, right? I mean, it's hard to reflect who we are when we're in pain. It just is. When we're in pain, it feels like it's going to last forever. It's always going to be this way. And we have a lot of rationalization, doctors or friends or family, maybe just yourself saying, yeah, I deserve this, or yeah, this happened. I shouldn't have been doing this. This happened, and now I'm in this. Yeah, that's probably going to be that way forever. It's all made up. All of that's made up.
It's a delusion. Yeah, that's what Yogananda said was a delusion. It's a delusion in your mind. We've got to erase the possibility from the mind. I mean, courage is very important. I tell people that I work with all the time, it takes courage to heal. It does. It's not for the faint of heart. Especially if it's a very serious thing. It takes a hell of a lot of courage. But anybody can heal. I'm not saying anybody will heal because I don't know what their unconscious motivations are for not healing. If you know Anita Morjani's story, she had died from late stage cancer, and she's out there saying the same thing as I am. Cancer is not a disease. It's not a disease. It's a dis-ease. It's a conflict. It's deep rage. It's putting all their effort into being somebody else. And she got torn apart. She had to die. She said, I had to die before I realized that, to become myself at some point.
Well, listen, we got caught up in the flow, and we got to go. Our time's up here. Stephen, I hope you come back, and I really mean that. I'd love to have you, come back and offer some more of your insights, your wisdom, your understanding, and I hope my audience connects with you and starts their healing journey today. So thank you so much for being here.
Sure, no problem. Thank you for the opportunity to explain this.
Absolutely. This is a great conversation. So for all of you, I'd like to thank you so much for being a part of the show today. You can find all the replays at voicesofcourage.us. You can tell Siri, Cortana, or Alexa to play Voices of Courage podcast. It'll come right up. You can tell them to play the current episode. This episode will come up also. So from my heart to yours, I pray that you will continue to look for and see the unseeable, know the unknowable, and then do the impossible.